Recording. Great. Welcome everyone to Seattle Flow Arts Collective's March board meeting. And today we have a number of updates from our committees. So without further ado, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Reminder that we are recording, and the recording will be put on YouTube so everyone can see what happens if they are not in our time zone. So if you don't want to be in the recording, please put something else in your display. So first, I would like to take attendance. It looks like we have Arlene present, Desert, Zach, Tuck, Kat, and Z is here as well. Did I miss any board members? Also, we have a lot of community members here as well, which I'm not going to name all of them, but we might want to put them in the minutes or not. So next, we have this agenda. So I have linked in the chat. There's a link that says meeting agenda. If you click on that, you'll see everything in our agenda for today. So I would like a motion to adopt this agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor of motion, say
Question.
aye. Question.
Oh.
Desert.
Did you
Gotta
already
ask for
update
discussion.
the agenda? Yeah. Did you already update the agenda with my walk-on?
I have not in the public one. So
I'll add it in the minutes.
So if we want to make a motion to accept the agenda with the proposed changes of adding the point I brought up, I think that would be okay.
So moved. Were we waiting for that?
Second.
Thank you.
any discussion on the motion? Don't see any. All in favor, say aye.
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 So
All
that's
against, say
the
nay.
motion to amend the agenda, correct?
Yes, the motion to.
All right. So now we need
Uh,
the motion to approve as amended.
Oh, we're doing it separately. Okay. Can I get a motion?
Be one
Kat?
in the minutes. Sorry. I think
Are you
it's
ready?
fine to just have approval of agenda with the proposed change, and we moved that, so I think we can move on.
Okay.
Eileen,
Am I allowed to make motions or seconds?
No.
Okay, so I will stop.
you can do something else with your hands. It's great. Sorry for the sloppy motioning. So the motion carries and we have this agenda. So what is next? Update from the chair. So as of the last board meeting, we started posting all the recordings and the minutes and even a summary on our blog. So you don't have to sit here for the entire duration if you don't want to. So you can find a link to that. We'll be posting the event shortly after this meeting, hopefully tomorrow. And you can also add comments and so on there. So I encourage you to check that out if you want to share this with anyone else. In the past few months, we have been really busy, really busy. We have a lot of organizational changes happening, and also we're starting a lot of new programs, leads on development. There's just a lot of gears turning here. So this board meeting is mainly each gear is saying what's going on. So we have some updates on our amazing progress so far this year. So without further ado, we have pending business of the old meeting minutes. So former meeting minutes. Our last board meeting was a special board meeting called so that we could officially make Arlene the executive director, and so Arlene could resign from the board to make that work. So we have minutes for that. I have not made a blog post for this because it's just procedural stuff. But I do believe it needs to be posted publicly somewhere. So board members do have a copy of this. So are there anything people want to talk about related to these minutes? Questions?
Changes.
changes. All right, can I have a motion to adopt the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to adopt the minutes from the last meeting? I don't see any discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All against, say nay. The ayes have it, the motion passes. So we have adopted the minutes from the last special board meeting. Next up, we have new business. So I am going to go to every committee and the chair and or their friends will give an update on what's going on. So the first such committee is going to be finance today. So Zach, please update us on the finances.
Yeah, so the board should have received an email last night with our current statements, and I don't know if I have screen share permission. I do. Oh, that's fun. There we go then. Well, here is the one I want. So I'm going to start us over on the statement of activity. And going through here, this is just the January 1st through March 19th statement. So it goes over everything we've done year to date. And shows that we've brought in gross profit 4,400. And then our expenses are currently at 1624 for a net of 2776. Now this includes most of this 3,000 up here, I believe, was from our campaign at the end of 2020, but it came in 2021, so it's currently counting towards our income for this year. And to provide more perspective, here is the 318 version of our year-to-date progress document. And so the numbers are all the same going in actual 21 to date. We have our budgeted of what we're anticipating and our progress towards it. So we are a little, and the thing to remember is that some of these are targets for by the end of year. So it's okay if we're a little behind. It's just good to note that we are behind on some of our fundraising goals, so we can put some more impetus into us trying to hit some of those. But yeah, so just kind of run you down. We're on track for direct contributions, but mostly because of that money we raised at the end of last year. Flow shop revenue is nearly the goal for year to date. Spin Jam revenue, I did not find any in the QuickBooks, and so I'm not sure if Spin Jam has been raising much money yet. And then our expenses, again, you know, this is just year to date. We're right on track with our vendor payments. You know, everything else is pretty much not shocking, you know. Again, all these expenses, some of them are things that we're paying for that are for more than 1 month, and so we'll be ahead, or some of them we haven't paid yet, so we'll be a little bit behind. We have begun paying an executive director, yay. And we are plenty fine on that so far. And so that is our current financial status. We are still up on revenue, but we need to kind of focus on our fundraising a bit more. And we have a development committee that will talk about that. Are there any questions that anybody saw in this?
So I have a question, not so much about what's in the documents, but as far as finances, like, do we have reserves or is there a statement of accounts or a balance sheet somewhere?
Yeah, sorry. That's a great call. And I did not run that one last night. I'm sorry. I actually don't have that on
No,
hand,
it's okay.
but I can run it, and before the end of the meeting, it'll be on hand. That's the wrong place. Yeah. So yeah, I can run it and have it before the end of the meeting for us.
Okay.
I'm curious what the 8 cents is under other revenue.
I'm assuming that's
Interest.
interest. Yeah.
Okay. Glad we're all accounted for. Thanks for that.
Made 8 cents of money with money so far. Good job.
Compounding interest, that's our goal.
Well, great. I will report back before the end of the meeting on our current financial reserves. And if there are no questions, we can probably move on.
Any questions for these budget? See any. By the way, you can also type in the chat if you have questions but don't want to interrupt or let's hear your voice. That's an option. So I've added an item at the end to remind us to go over the statement of accounts. So we'll go back to that. The other thing in the finance committee department I wanted to talk about is tax season. Nonprofits still have to file every year. It's called Form 990, and it makes everyone stay up at night because it's dreadfully complicated. I am in charge of preparing that this year. So if anyone would be so kind as to help me, that would be wonderful. Most of the information is already around. It just needs to be collated, and it needs to be double, triple, quadruple checked and sent to the board, and also rechecked and rechecked. It's a very important document. This is what the public sees about our financial situation. So I will be in contact soon about particulars of that. I haven't really spent a lot of time filling it out yet, but it is something that I will draw your attention to shortly. Aside from that, we have various other filings that are now quarterly for employment related things. I don't really think there's any action items there. I just want people to be aware that there's a fair amount of paperwork flying around these days, just to keep things going. That is
BJ?
all. Yeah? Question.
Do you know the deadline for the 990?
I don't, because it's highly likely to change.
May 15th.
Nominally, it's May 15.
Yeah.
Individual tax
But
returns
yeah,
have been
it's
pushed out
in
at
the air.
least a month. There's
Yeah.
like 40 million returns they haven't processed. So highly likely the actual deadline is sometime in the summer. Also, you can file an extension with no penalty. So it's not super big deadline, but you really don't want to just drag it out because it's awful. So I do plan to wrap that up by the original deadline, just in the interest of sanity.
Yep.
So, and yeah, well, we'll talk more about the timeline when it comes up. Any questions?
I'm happy to help.
Oh, happy to help. Okay, great. We have one. Any questions about taxes? All right, hearing none, let's carry on. Next committee update is governance committee. And you know what? That's me. I get to talk more. This is great. So the first topic is executive director hiring. As I said earlier, we have an executive director and her name is Arlene and she's wonderful. Arlene is no longer on the board as vice president. In last board meeting, Arlene resigned to take this position. So this is a paid executive director position. Really proud that we can support Arlene and the tireless work she does to keep all this spinning. And it's great. So right now, this is a part-time position, which is pretty much contingent on how much money we can raise or get through revenue. Right now, the hours are about 10 a week, and we hope that goes up because we have a lot to do. And what else to say? I don't know. We have not really done a huge reveal with our executive director except at town hall. So I'm not really quite sure what to say about the role yet. We're still sort of figuring out the scope of that. For now, Arlene is mostly working on committee stuff, behind the scenes, organizing, scheduling, pretty much everything except running events, which is a volunteer thing, is covered, which is great. Arlene, anything you want to say about the role, like your grand plans or how you feel or anything?
Wow. Thank you. First of all, I really appreciate the support of the board in making this happen and the support of the community too. I know it's a big thing to have a paid position of this sort, and it feels, I am honored and humbled and yeah, and a little bit horrified. It's a big role and I haven't ever done this before. So I really have appreciated everyone's support so far as we figure out how to do it. My goals for this role and this organization are to build it into something that I can step away from. Actually, that's kind of my goal, to something that can be self-sustaining and supporting the mission that we all care about so much, which is to share this art form with more people because of all of the gifts that it's given all of us. So want to reach as many people as I can while doing that and support not only the entire Flow Arts community, but also support our organization and volunteers and the people who are working with us in creating a healthy environment for us to do this work too. So that, you know, I want to avoid some of the like martyrdom that can often happen in volunteer organizations and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here, excited to see where it goes. And always open for feedback. I want people to know that my email is arlene@seattleflowarts.org. And y'all can email me anytime if you have a question or a concern, if there's something you want to see, or if there's something that you're not seeing that you're seeing that you don't like or whatever. The point of this organization really is to serve the community and not to serve the people who are on the board. So if there's stuff that you would like to see, then at me, please.
Thank you, Eileen. Any questions or discussion about executive director things? Going once, going twice. Okay. So next topic in governance committee is code of conduct reporting / transformative accountability update. How's that going?
That's mine too. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah, so as BJ mentioned, so okay, so we wrote a code of conduct over the summer, this past summer in 2020, with the help of Rachel Drake, and there was a team of 8 of us, 9 including her, that co-wrote that. And part of the next step is, now that we have a code of conduct, what the heck do we do if someone violates said code of conduct, right? So what we are working on with the continued support of Rachel is to create a process of community accountability. Transformational accountability is the term that Rachel has coined. It's based on some of the tenets of restorative justice and transformative accountability, transformative justice, but it's slightly different from those things in ways that she is better at explaining than I am. But basically the concept is that we're taking a 360 approach to addressing harm that occurs within the community. So by 360, what we mean is that we're supporting and keeping in accountability people who have been accused of harm, people who have been harmed, and also bystanders. You know, when something happens in the community and there's some sort of harm that's occurred, it doesn't just influence the people who are directly involved. There's a ripple effect that goes out into the community. And transformational accountability is a way that we can address that whole picture. And the goal is to keep our spaces safe, and also, though, to keep in mind that kicking someone out of a community because of a misbehavior is sometimes appropriate and sometimes isn't. And we want to make sure that we're taking care with everyone in our community to support them in their learning and growing, and while still maintaining these spaces to be as safe as we can keep them. So currently what we're doing in regards to this work, Rachel is leading a 12-week educational process, 12-week educational series for people to learn about transformational accountability. We just spent last Sunday spending 3 hours talking about trauma. It was really great. We're learning a lot. We're very, very lucky to have someone like Rachel in our community who is able to support us in this work. Yeah, we're building toward that. So like I said, tomorrow will be our fourth session of 12. And once those 12 sessions are over, we'll be forming a disappearing task force that will get together to actually write the policies and procedures that we'll have as an organization to support people in this process. The name of that program is going to be CARE, which is an acronym for Community Accountability, Reintegration, and Education. So you can see there's really this emphasis on trying to not just kick people out of the community so that they can become a broken stair elsewhere, if possible. And when people who have caused harm are willing to engage with us, we want to help engage them in a growth process that still keeps other people safe. It's a weird balancing act, and there aren't a whole lot of examples of how to do this. So the fact that we're doing this is really exciting, and it's something that we're also in contact with people from Consent Culture Initiative and other organizations so that we can get as much input as possible. And hopefully we'll be able to share what we're doing with other organizations as well and other communities throughout the country so that they can learn from what we're doing here too. And I think those are the main points that I had on that. Are there any questions about the process, the program, theory? None. That's great. You can also feel free to at me about this stuff. Anyone who is feeling shy in this moment.
All right, thank you, Arlene. Our last topic in governance is bylaws updates. We sort of had hoped to have some updates to the bylaws for this meeting. I don't think those went through enough review, so perhaps the next meeting. But there are a few changes that we're making. Kat, do you want to talk to us a little bit about sort of the what and why?
Yeah, a few of the proposed changes are removing gendered pronouns from the bylaws, and also some things about board terms that we haven't necessarily been doing in practice, so we should fix the bylaws, and a couple other pretty minor things. So we'll be bringing forward those proposals at the next meeting.
Great. Any questions about that project?
Not a question, but just an ad as part of our work in continuing to focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I just wanted to highlight that one of the things we'll be putting in, or that we're discussing putting in the bylaws, obviously we haven't approved things yet, is to focus on really trying to prioritize people of color in our board recruitment process. So just wanted to highlight that as part of that work.
All right, any other questions about bylaws? All right, let's move on. So our next committee is Development Committee, and this is like a new committee. It's really going fast. I'm super excited. Kat, take it away.
Yeah, so Development Committee is tasked with fundraising through donations and grants. There's a big giving day coming up. It's actually 2 days, May 4th and 5th is Give Big. And we'll be reaching out to the community via our newsletter and social media, and hopefully you all can help with sharing posts and things like that to raise money during Give Big for Seattle Flow Arts Collective. People will donate to us through the Give Big website. We're setting up a profile. And then we need to put a goal on the website. So we can talk about this at the development committee meeting, but yeah, setting a fundraising goal for that event. I am thinking something along the lines of like 500 or 1,000. I didn't hear back from any board members about creating a match. So we might not have a match unless we have any community members that want to step up and have their donation maybe be the matching fund. So community members, let me know if you're already planning to donate. Maybe your donation could be our match that encourages other folks to donate. So yeah, we'll be working on that some more between now and early giving opens April 20th and then goes through May 5th. Any questions on that? Okay. For grants, we're applying for Arts WOG pandemic relief grant, and currently trying to figure out what programs to include and how to structure them, and really just getting into the process of grant writing. It's new to a lot of us. Does anyone, maybe Marissa or BJ, want to talk a little bit about the Arts WOG grant? Okay, we can talk about it at our session on Thursday. There's a few other grants we're looking at. So there's a Welcome Back Seattle grant. The application closes on May 7th, and it would be a program that we would do between June and December. And we're thinking about doing a program called Flow in the Park that would rotate around to different underutilized parks. That actually in the application materials, they talk about using a bunch of different underutilized parks that we kind of already were thinking about doing something in the long term. And then we're also looking into the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, which has an arts and culture program, and I can submit an inquiry through their website. And then there's Arts Fund, which is by invitation only. But there's a phone number on their website. So I'm gonna just cold call them next week. So, so that's the update on grants. Any questions or comments? Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you for doing all that work. Grants are kind of like a lot, right? It's like a whole project. And we're just getting started with doing those sorts of projects. So we're learning a lot. If you're interested in learning as well, we could always use more help with the writing or the scheming. So if you're interested, drop us a line. We can get you plugged into these things. So next, so we have program, fire, and marketing, and then we have a few other items. So I'd like to hear an update on programming, both existing and new. Take it away, Arlene.
Yeah, let me get my, okay, great. Yeah, there's a lot going on in our program committee meetings that are happening every 2 weeks. So much so that we had to table like 3 different discussions because we did not have time this week. So that's really exciting. There's a lot of growth happening here. FlowShop is plugging right along. I'm pleased to see that we're currently just under, but practically at our revenue target so far for the year, which is great. Keep that coming. We've got a lot of good stuff that's coming up programming wise for FlowShop in the next month that I'm really excited about. And I think some stuff that the people will be excited about too. Spin Jam has been happening every other Saturday. It's happening this Saturday at 3 o'clock, 3 to 5, as always, for the past like over a decade. Just bringing that home. Spin Jam is really kind of the core of our community here. But their revenue has been really low. I don't know if they've gotten any donations. So that's something that hopefully can pick up. Theoretically, like we're kind of getting to a point with programs in relation to COVID, where I think we want to start having the conversation about resuming in-person events, whether or not we want to do that. Obviously we will eventually. But like what our timeline is, or maybe what our parameters would be for like what feels safe for us to do that. And my hunch is that when these events start happening in person again, the revenue will also go up a little bit along with them. Yeah, and I don't have any like specific thoughts on COVID stuff in this moment. But yeah, we'll have vaccines available for every person theoretically by the start of May, and thinking about holding in-person distance events in the summer is potentially on the table. So we'll want to figure that out, and that's very exciting. Miss seeing you all in person. As far as new programs go, we've got a few things that we're looking at. Kat mentioned one idea that we're having is to do a flow in the park type event that would have kind of a few different components to it. So having a piece of it be like an exhibition, so people can kind of see what this is all about and get an idea of what it actually looks like to do this thing. And then having a lesson involved, as well as just some time for people to free flow and play and connect with each other. And hosting that in communities all over the city is really exciting, because that gives us a cool opportunity to just like expand our reach, get into more communities, connect with more communities of color, and really like share this with people all over. I'm like too excited to even say words as I'm thinking about it. And another thing that we're working on, drumming up all of the details for and figuring out how to execute it, is a youth program, specifically targeting youth of color around middle school age. We're kind of thinking 11 to 14 is the age that we're looking to get started with anyhow. And we're currently looking at starting to reach out to Seattle Public Library and the Seattle Housing Authority, so that we can kind of get our feet wet in kind of a little bit more low stakes settings, where we can figure out all of the details of how to run a youth program, because this is something we've never done before as an organization. And then the plan from there is to move into other communities and other organizations that would also benefit from this kind of programming. So we're thrilled. If you have an organization that works with kids that you think would be a good match for us, definitely let us know. We're looking for as many of those connections as we can find right now. And the last thing that we're doing, like I said, there's so much. We have been contacted to run a corporate event, a corporate like POI program for people. So it's their fun employee thing, right? A lot of these big tech companies that we're around have budgets of that sort. And that's a really, really great opportunity for us to work with people who have money to pay us, that we can then utilize that revenue to support our other programs that we want to be offering for free. Maybe it might go without saying, but I will say it, we're not looking to charge 11-year-olds to come to these classes, right? We're looking to actually be able to provide them with the props that they need in order to attend, so that everything is no cost to the participants. So doing corporate programs and events like that is one of the ways that we can really expand our flow, right? And like spread the flow and connect with that part of our mission, while still also supporting lower income communities that are under circused. And Yeah, I think those are the things. So we're figuring all that stuff out. It's a lot of stuff to figure out. So that sounds like something that you're interested in, either in helping with the planning. Like I said, if you have some sort of connection, that would be beneficial. Or if you're interested in teaching at those kinds of events, then definitely let us know. That's what I got. Oh, are there any
Thanks, Erin.
questions?
Any questions? I have a question. What sort of props are we considering for these intro sort of situations?
That's great. So the props that we have been kicking around with for these ideas are poi and juggling, in part because poi are kind of easiest to make and they're easy to ship to people. Same with juggling balls. Excuse me. And those are, I think, just two really great entry props for people. I would really love, though, to have hoop stuff in the future. And there is a gal that reached out to me who is interested in working with youth and doing hoop things too. So that's also on the table.
Any other questions, comments? Yeah, I just want to reiterate on the corporate program, there's so much untapped potential there in terms of introducing people to healthy behaviors and things that are fun and also healthy. Right now, people are deciding between like, do I want to do truffles or an escape room, and like just kind of bored with both. And I think we have a really compelling thing that we can offer people that will also improve their lives, which is just like, you know, a win-win-win-win. So I'm super excited to push on that. If we don't have any other questions or comments, I think next up is fire. Desert.
Me?
With fire.
I get to talk
It's
about
your
this
turn.
stuff? Awesome. Okay, so let's see. I think first on the agenda was the fire safety course. So for everybody who isn't aware, CFAC is putting together a fire safety 101 to introduce primarily new spinners to fire spinning with, you know, all of the lessons learned and kind of community standards that we use for safety. It will mostly apply just to new spinners, but also a refresher for anyone who may have not spun for the last year and just wants to think about, what did I forget? And eventually we hope to produce a more advanced kind of guide focus for fire performers who are actually going out and gigging, maybe in a venue, on a stage. But this specific document, the 101 guide, is more towards people who are maybe spinning for the first time, and what do they do when they walk away? Because nobody really spins fire once, right? They're going to then want to do it again someplace, and we want them to be safe. So we've put together a guide that kind of breaks down some things. The guide has evolved a lot. Anybody familiar with the term scope creep, you know what I mean. And it's gone from a kind of high-level overview to a 27-page document. So we've been working on that since about last November, and it will be locked at the end of this month to go for its first and then probably second, third, and fourth round of edits before it's made generally available. The goal was to use this guide as kind of an instructor reference for in-person safety training, fire safety training. And that is really what we are focusing on, is in-person training. There are a lot of guides online. There's a lot of information out there that you can Google and you can find with a web search. So this was primarily a supplement to an in-person course, which we also intend to spin up just as soon as we make a determination on when it's safe to do so. And any questions on the fire safety course. One more point before I think this question might be coming, is currently not offering an online course. There are online courses that are very good. The FAI course is a very long, in-depth course that offers a whole lot of safety training and fire science behind those trainings. So if you're looking for an online course, I highly recommend review of FAI.
And that's Flow Arts Institute for any unawares.
Thank you. So with that being said, any questions on the fire safety course? All right, hearing none. What was the actual next topic?
Fire jam.
The fire jam. Okay. So,
If there's an update, I don't know.
So, I'm going to use the fire jam topic to kind of talk about something that I would love the feedback from everyone here, board members, community members, executive director. We want to approach officially as CFAC the Fire Code Advisory Board. And I'm going to pop my screen open, and I promise to not take too long on this. I'm going to take some time, but not too much time. All right, so let me just situate my screen here so I can see people in case they raise their hand. Great. So the Fire Code Advisory Board is chaired by a gentleman named Ken. The fire committee, specifically Luis, thank you, Luis, has already opened a dialogue with Ken and started forming a relationship there. That's really important to anybody who wants to spin fire in Seattle, because the Fire Code Advisory Board takes the updates to the national code, reviews them, and then either modifies them or hands them directly to the city as their recommendation for new fire code in Seattle. This came to a really big point in 2016 for us when they were going to adopt Portland's fire code that would essentially shut down fire spinning in Seattle. And anybody who was in fire at that time may remember there was a big hubbub about it. And at the time, we formed a disappearing organization that worked with the city and the Fire Code Advisory Board to change the fire code so that we could still do fire. Some things still happened that made it harder to perform indoors, but we still were able to preserve our art form in some way. What we're trying to do now is approach FCAB with some very specific opening talking points. And those talking points, I think everyone should be able to see. If it's too small, let me know, I'll increase the font, are these initial points here. And these points were largely sourced from within the fire committee itself. We would love, absolutely love, nothing would make me happier, in fact, than to get public feedback about not just these points, but other points that you might have questions or concerns, or just want to have more information about what's going to happen to fire dancing as soon as we open back up. Quarantine starts to get lifted as we move into more phases or complete venues open, and we can start doing our thing, as well as the fire jams, right? The code influences the fire jams specifically. Anybody remembers some of the spinner, why spinner had to stop? It was largely around permitting, costs, permitting requirements, a 5-day notification for a group that is largely, let's say, doesn't plan ahead that well if I want to go out and spin fire or not with my friends, is usually not something we're going to plan 5 days ahead. But that's the current regulation. So we're not going to talk about that yet. We need to establish the relationship. So I'm not going to read them off verbatim. We got 5 minutes left and we have a lot more to go through. So with that said, If anybody wants to talk about this more, please reach out to me directly. It's desert@seattleflowarts.org. .com isn't going to work. It's org. I've used .com way too many times, but it's org. And yeah, that's my update.
Any comments or questions about FCAB?
No, nobody. Oh, where's my feedback, yo?
I have feedback, but I will type it into words. All right, so we have a few other items left. We're going to talk about marketing, and then we're going to revisit our statement of accounts that we forgot. And that's about all we have. So Arlene, what's new with marketing?
This will be kind of short. Marketing is still one of the biggest jobs for an organization like this. We have been starting to work with a actual professional, Natalie Kavork, who is going to be helping us with social media and kind of general marketing. I think she and I will be getting together soon. She's been on vacation recently. So we're going to be getting together soon to work on that. I've got a couple people on a social media team currently who are helping engage with people on Instagram and also helping to create posts that are sort of just community engagement posts, trying to highlight things that are going on in the flow art community generally, highlighting artists or interesting articles that are relevant to what we're doing here. So we're getting started on that process. And we're also going to be transitioning the Flow Shop Instagram into a Seattle Flow Arts Instagram. So that change will be happening pretty soon here. So Flow Shop will no longer have its own page on Instagram, but I think that it'll make more sense for CFAC to have a page that can also just highlight the stuff that Flow Shop is doing, and that'll make the account, I think, be a little bit more lively, and also just like a way to capture more of what we're actually doing here in that social media space. And we've also been kicking around a little bit the idea of starting a Discord for Seattle Flow Arts Collective as people move away from social media, which kind of continues to happen, and especially with younger people not joining Facebook or even Instagram these days. We're really needing to find ways to connect to those people and to those communities. I think the fastest growing demographic for joining Facebook is adults over the age of 50, which isn't to say that they're not in our potential demographic. I love the idea of working with older adults, and like also 50 isn't older adult or old. But we want to make sure that we're getting our whole age range. So that's stuff that we're thinking about. If y'all have feedback or thoughts on that, let me know. And if there's anyone who's interested in helping with social media, also let me know. I'm going to reiterate that this is a really, really cool opportunity to get to learn about how this stuff works. If you are someone who operates your own business, or you're a performer and want to get better at this stuff, or if it's something that you're looking at as a career, this is a resume builder. So come build your resume with us. I promise it's fun. And BJ, were you going to talk about the blog?
Yes, I will. Blogging makes me happy because I sort of did it like 20 years ago, and now it's 2021 and I'm doing it again. So as I mentioned before, board meetings are now posted on the blog as quickly as possible. And that's where you can find what happened. But also, I want to keep posting other stuff that happens on the blog as well. Stuff we do in the community, mentions in the news, upcoming opportunities, or even just spotlighting artists or other people in the community. So last month we had a guest post from Morgan Delgano of the Art of Flow podcast, which I love. And it was a nice post. these are some things I learned starting up a Flow Arts podcast. I mean, this is the sort of thing that I would love to read. And that's the sort of thing I want to put on the blog, is stuff that I want to read. And if there's stuff that you want to read as well, let me know. If you have leads or you want to contribute yourself, let me know. That would be great. There's no bar. You don't have to be a professional blogger or anything like that. I really just want to document and share what's going on in our community and the wider community that we're related to. So I intend to keep posting on there, not just board meetings, but also other things that are going on and interesting in some way or another. And I do expect as we do have more in-person events and shows, like it's going to be a lot easier to fill that with cool content and cool pictures of people smiling. Right now, it's a little harder, but I do think that's going to be a great way to show people what exactly we're doing. What is Flow Arts? What does a Flow Arts nonprofit do? That's sort of the space where I want to show that. And once we're doing more and have more pictures of us doing things, that will scale up, I hope. Other topic, which I sort of forgot, is website. We have a beautiful website, and I've been using it for a while, and there's things that I want to fix. So we have a long list of things about the website that we'd like to amend or fix or improve, sort of like for the first half of this year. And I need to set up a meeting where we go and triage those things and fix them. So if you want to work on your web development skills, your WordPress skills, anything like that, this is a great time to jump in and figure out what's going on. Hiring actual web developers is expensive, so like we don't want to do that for every little thing. There are many things we can fix ourselves with just a little bit of Googling and trying out on the demo site. So if you want to work on your web development skills for personal reasons, or so you can get a job or whatever, let me know. This is the sort of thing that I love helping people with. Professionally, I am a web developer tool maker, so I know I can help people figure out what to do, even if I don't know myself. So if you're interested in that, please reach out, bj@seattleflowarts.org, or email hello@seattleflowarts.org, which is our just inbox. And I'm hoping to move on that next month, and especially in May, as I have a little more time. Hopefully sooner than May. That's 2 months from now. Any questions about blog or website? Questions, comments? Desert says, I'd help mod the Discord. We'll talk. All right, so we have one more item here, which is revisiting our statement of account stack. Do you have that ready to share?
I do, yeah. I'm just going to share my screen one more time here and share our current financial position. So we had some good substantial contributions when we founded CFAC. And so our current total in our bank accounts is just shy of 13,000. This number is part of why we felt confident enough to hire a part-time executive director. But you know, and we have very few outstanding bills right now. So our current our current total available cash is 12,978. But I do, in that context, want to revisit that while we do have budgeted we do have budgeted currently more than that as potential expenses or anticipated expenses for this year. So even though we are sitting looking pretty good relative to our expenses month to month right now, that current position relative to what we anticipate spending is kind of the incentive to keep fundraising. So yeah, again, we're looking pretty all right as far as our total assets go right now. But that's not to say we shouldn't keep an eye to fundraising based on what our budgeted expenses for the year is. Any questions? Financial position or budget year to date?
One thing we talked about at the finance committee meeting was at some point in the next few months, doing a financial training for the whole board, just to
Yes.
make sure everyone understands how to read financial statements and what's going on. So I think, what were the steps on that? Reach out to Harley's dad, maybe, to see
That
if
was the plan. Yeah. I have not yet done that, but that is definitely the step to do. And then we'll set up a meeting with the board members to have everybody have an opportunity to get that training and know what they're looking at when they're looking at a financial position or a statement of activity or any of the various other options that we are given by QuickBooks for representing our finances, because the different formats show you different things. It's not always clear.
All right, unless we have more comments or questions, I think we're done with our committee updates, and we do not have any other actions to vote on or anything. So if there are any member comments or announcements, now's the time. And after that, we can ask the non-board people if they have any comments or announcements, and then we're going to adjourn. So anyone want to say something? Time check, Desert says. We started at 10 after, so we're just coming up on an hour here.
Is this a 2-hour meeting?
No,
Scheduled for 2 hours? Okay.
It's scheduled
for
from
an
10
hour.
to 11.
because
Okay.
we don't have any things to vote on. So if anyone has any comments, we can proceed to be done. Up to you. Any non-board people would like to comment or make announcements, community announcements? I guess that includes Arlene technically. All right, I guess we don't have a whole lot to talk about anymore. This is great. We're 2 minutes under time. So perhaps we should consider adjourning. Would anyone have a motion for that?
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion on the motion to adjourn?
I don't think you need to have discussion on the motion to adjourn.
I can't remember which ones
But
you
it's,
don't discuss.
well,
right?
I mean, the agenda is one where you can have like what's called a consent agenda, where you just adopt the
Need to read
agenda
this.
and the minutes pro forma, like every single meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But then that also, you know, if somebody does have a change that they want to make, then that kind of throws kinks into the process. So I think that really it's just motions to adjourn, I would say, are probably the only safe ones that you can skip discussion on. Anything else, it makes sense to ask for discussion at least. Yeah, because you need to know if people have changes before adopting anything else or before adopting a motion. Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. Should I
Yeah.
ask for more discussion?
No. Sorry to extend the meeting.
This is great. We're all growing.
Oh my goodness. I apologize.
All in favor of the motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
All against, say nay. All right, the ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. And we're going to stop recording.
Oh.